Hello everybody, Ben Woodruff here with another Falconry video. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about training a bird indoors versus training them outdoors. Why there's a difference, why it matters, and kind of the views on that. But before I start, if you haven't already, if you could please hit subscribe. It really helps me keep this channel up and going. And with that, I want to just say there's a billion different ways to teach different birds. There's different ages we get. This video has principles that apply to anything, but specifically this applies most to a passage bird. If you're new to falconry, a passage bird is a term we say for a first-year bird, a bird that is not a baby in terms that it is not under the care of its parents. It's full-sized, but still has its juvenile first-year plumage. It is left the care of its parents and is on its own, maybe even migrating south for the winter. But it does not have its own established territory. It does not have its own established mate. So that is a passage bird. Now, this would also kind of apply in principle if you're taking a bird that was raised in captivity. A captive bred bird that was chamber raised, meaning it's raised by its parents, it's kind of been wild, and now you're taking it at that same age and now training it. But really, this applies more to a true passage bird, which is, again, a bird caught in the wild and now being trained right off the bat. If you watch my videos, you'll understand one of the principles that I like to hammer in is the concept of socialization. I like to acclimate my birds to everything they may encounter and to get them be as social and solid as they can possibly be. That is not the only way to do things, but it is the way I prefer. I like my bird to be as unstressed and as calm and like used to me as possible, used to riding in a vehicle, used to crowds or dogs that show up unexpectedly, whatever it may be. So with that, I also have to say that when I'm dealing with micros, small birds, an American kestrel, a merlin, a Cooper's hawk, a sharp-shinned hawk, sparrowhawk, Applomado falcon, a lot of these smaller birds, I keep them indoors anyways, partly to make weight management more precise in cold weather, and partly just to increase the social time they have. And the thinking behind that is, even though all raptors are predators, and top of the line predators, they still can fall prey to larger birds. The smaller of a bird you are, the lower on that totem pole you are as well. And so if you're trying to have a bird that's smaller be socialized, oftentimes they require more social time to feel at ease because they're lower on the food chain, more likely to get munched by wild birds or bigger animals. And so having them just in constant view of you and your family, your roommates, whatever, is a great tool to helping them feel safer and more socialized. So, but that aside, micros aside, you've got a big bird, you've got a small bird. Other than an eagle, training indoors, what's the advantages of the disadvantages? The biggest difference between the two that I'm going to outline is if you train a bird indoors and then move to outdoors. My personal experience, the training goes much faster, but once you transition to outside, you will take a couple steps back and then move forward. So that makes sense. You're like, whoop, you get to here, and then you're like, and then whoop. Where if you do all your training outdoors, oftentimes the training rate is slower. However, it is consistent. It's like, all right, we're slow. Okay, all right. And it just keeps getting better and better and better. That is the biggest difference, but not the most important difference. And so here's how it works. When a bird is in the wild, a passage bird, everything it sees, it's used to hunting, it's used to flying, it's used to evading predators. It knows, I have to kill my meal or else I will starve to death. It knows it has to take shelter in the rain or the snow and find a place to try to get out of inclement weather. It has learned how to soar. It learns how to watch out for things and has some level of real-world experience. And you take that bird from that situation that is like, yeah, I know the ways of the world, I know the ways of the wild, and whoomp, and now they're indoors. They're like I'm looking around my house, antlers, paintings, couches, guns, skulls, DVDs, whatever, dinosaur skulls. Just looking around my house, I'm like, to a bird, they're like, what is this stuff? This stuff is not moving, but it's there. It's foreign, but it's almost like clutter to their mind. It doesn't register necessarily as anything to be threatened by or excited by. It's just kind of like white noise, background noise, visually. That's very different than the outside. So if you have a bird in that situation, and that's all you know, you can control lighting. You want to reduce the visual stimulation, you just flip off the lights or turn down the lights or unscrew a light bulb so you have fewer lights going on if you want to do that, to make them feel calmer, almost like a half-hooded bird. And when you start to introduce food, okay, what are you going to do? The first step is you're going to man the bird, right? Teach them to sit on the fist, and if they jump, to get back up on their own. And then you're going to teach them to eat from the fist, to hop the fist, to fly to the fist. And then, in my case, then I also train them to come to a lure. I love stooping a bird to a lure, letting them exercise. But for me, the most important role of a lure is retrieval. So I want them to know, hey, this is the Hail Mary pass. If I put out a lure, huge meal guaranteed, you want to come to this. And so I do that usually on a smaller bird. I start on my kitchen table, put a lure with meat on it, you come to it, and then I move to the middle of my front room. It's like plop, there you go. And they're sitting on the couch. They land on it. And then I do the technique that I call spiral and stomp technique. Go through my videos. I reference it a lot. I want, when a bird is on the ground, whether on the lure or on a kill, or they miss something and now they're just waiting for me to pick them up, I want them to be just rock solid to where nothing's going to spook them. Nothing is going to make them take off. I want them to be like, yeah, big old Ben is running towards me, out of breath, coming through the sagebrush, he's charging me, and helping me dispatch this jackrabbit I caught, sure, instead of being like, oh no, and taking off. And that, I start indoors, in my front room. I start, okay, you're in the front room, I'm going to crawl up to you and help, and then I'm going to start to walk around you and step over you, and I do all of those steps of training in my house, other than eagles. And I have done it with a few male golden eagles in my house. The other thing is, I'll sit and watch a documentary. That's part of the social time. Is like, okay, I'm going to put my bird on my fist, sit on an easy chair, have them sitting there. They're looking over at you. It's like, yeah, go ahead, keep staring at me. I'm watching a documentary. And they're like, oh, documentary? We're learning about Egypt today? Huh? Whatever they see on the TV, they're seeing motions and colors that are like, wait, no, I'm mad at you, human. Oh, wait, Egyptian documentary. No, you moved a little, human. And they keep doing that. And it's just a good, easy, lazy, convenient way to socialize that bird. It really is. And so for me, that's how I like to do it. But then the problem with that is, once you get outside, suddenly all that training, you could have a bird that you've got the weight dialed in perfectly. You know what is their flying weight. You got them flying to the fist, flying to the lure, rock solid when you step over them, sitting with you watching a documentary on ancient Egypt, whatever. They're solid. And you take them outside and they're like, blah! And it might take a few sessions to get them dialed back in. And the reason is, suddenly the world of familiarity came flooding back to them. And so it's kind of like they say, when people talk about the possibility of other dimensions, they'll give the metaphoric example of a fish out of water. If you had fish living in water their whole lives and they never saw the surface, and all of a sudden a hand came down, picked them up, lifted them up, and showed them the forest, showed them the sky, showed them the birds, showed them everything, showed them the freeway and the cars going by, and then put them back, they'd be like, what? What did I just see? It's kind of a similar way. Most raptors are not overly creative in their thinking as far as we can tell. They are built more to be a fast reactionary bird. I see something, I hear something, I react to it. There's something to kill. Oh, there's something to evade. Oh, okay. That is the name of survival. Fast reaction time. Where it's like, am I in the mood to catch a rabbit today? Or maybe should I wait until a vole appears? That's not the name of survival. Okay. So we don't see that. So they're not necessarily overthinking, but still they've had an entirely foreign world, and then you've taken back them outside into the world that they know. And so if you're trying to fly them now on a long leash, on a creance, we call it, outside, and they're flying, they might be like, and take off, because suddenly there's distractions that they are familiar with. And they're like, I should go land in a tree, because being on the ground or being on this low perch makes me vulnerable. But what I have found is if you train your bird inside, incredibly quick training, move them outside, you're going to have a couple bad days, 1, 2, maybe 3, of like, okay, come on, remember what we did inside, and then they'll get it again, and then you just keep on running. But again, the difference is if you train outside, if you're like, I'm manning this bird outside, most people spend their lives, you know, their urban lives indoors. Most people are not just sitting in their yard. You can, but most people aren't just sitting out there. So, especially usually if you've caught a passage bird, it's probably September, October, November. You're not just sitting out in the cold, where you can sit for hours watching TV if you want to. So, the time you're spending outside, getting them manned, getting them socialized, it works. And that is, of course, the old traditional way. You go outside, you get your bird, and you train them. But again, that you won't have those backtrack days. You'll just normally have a slower progression, but they're slowly getting more and more used to the idea of eating off the fist, flying to the fist, flying to a lure, flying longer and longer distances. So they both systems work. I don't think that one is better than the other. I just say that I prefer going inside and then switching to outside. And again, like I said in previous videos, a couple of the falconers that I have the highest respect for of any falconers on this planet that I've met in my entire life prefer a bird with a skittish wild edge. They like that. They actually prefer that and view it to be a better hunter bird. And that's not me. That's okay. I respect them, and I salute the caliber of falconry they practice. And I personally prefer a bird that is so rock solid and so easy going around me and around distractions that you would almost think it's a puppy. It's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's just so easy going. And I personally don't think that impacts them in the field. I feel, hey, if you've got their weight dialed in, especially if it's a passage bird that understands hunting, hey, they're still going to be a great hunter. And being relaxed around people does not equal losing your gaminess, losing your hunting edge. I don't believe that it does make them lose their edge. That's me personally. But that's the main difference. Again, I'm a big fan of keeping a bird indoors, especially if it's small. And I love to have a bird socialized and around, and I just think that it works wonders to build that trust between both of you in a way that is not only food-based. Because remember, I always say this in my videos, food is a language of trust. In raptors, it's social bonding. Everybody wants to kill you and take your food, or kill you and make you food, except for your mate or your parent, and your parent will still steal your food once they've left you. If they encounter you again in the wild, they're not like, oh, that's my son from 2 years ago. No, okay. So even though you're not the bird's mate, the fact that you are offering food and they are calmly accepting food, that is social bonding. But again, acclimation is another way, just acclimating them to, hey, oh, every day this person is here, he's eating breakfast, he's eating pancakes in front of me. I'm sitting on a perch in the kitchen watching this. I've got a leg up, tucked in, I'm preening, and this dude's sitting here eating his pancakes and eggs for breakfast, and we're just used to that. That's acclimation. That's a socialization that is just acclimation, just getting used to the sheer regularity of something. And that, hand in hand with proper social bonding from proper use of food, is, in my mind, the best way to do it. And I feel it's easier and more convenient to start that process inside and then move it to outside. But again, there's a million ways to do things, especially in falconry. Falconers are opinionated. And I would like all of you to tell me what you think down in the comments below of what I've shared, but also what has worked for you. What techniques do you like to do any of your training indoors? If so, why? Do you think it's a terrible idea? If so, what are some drawbacks that I haven't even thought of that you have noticed that are bad about training a bird indoors? Please share, and please hit subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, happy hawking.